we are going to discuss ethical and moral issues in business management. This is Toyota's sudden unintended acceleration, a case study in submission to Engineer Larry A. Rihuso, a professor at Lipa City College's Masters of Business Administration. For our group members, Ms. Rizalyn L. Tenorio, Ms. Sheila Fatalio, Ms. Mara Alcantara Delen, Ms. Myla Mondros, Ms. Bernadette de Belen, and Ms. Rosil Regados. An overview of our group members. Ms. Rizalyn Tenorio is a legal and accounting staff at the Philippine Manufacturing Company of Morata. Ms. Sheila May P. Fatalio works at Philippines TRC Incorporated as an accounting staff, whereas Ms. Ana Alcantara Delen is working at Pag-ibig as a customer support assistant, whereas Ms. Myla T. Mendros is an audit staff at NL Villa Memorial Medical Center. Ms. Bernadette M.D. Belen is an accounting staff at CDO Foodspear Incorporated, whereas Ms. Rosili Rigodos is a technical staff at Dole Batangas Provincial Office. Today we're gonna discuss the history and overview of the topic company, which is Toyota, case study analysis, preventive measures, and learnings on this case study. There are many surprising facts about the history of Toyota, not the least of which is the name itself. The change to the name from Toyoda to Toyota was supposedly meant to make it easier to pronounce. Its founder, Sakichi Toyoda, created groundbreaking designs, one of which brought the inventor enough money to found the Toyota Motor Company. The story of Toyota is very much a family saga. It began in 1891 when Sakichi Toyoda, a young carpenter, patented his first invention. The story of Toyota is very much a family saga. It began in 1891 when Sakichi Toyoda, a young carpenter, patented his first invention. It is a wooden manually operated loom at the age of 24. He wanted to make a better loom for his hardworking mother, resulting to first Japan automatic loom, and the company now we know as Toyota was born. His son, Kiichiro Toyoda, a founder of Toyota Motor Corporation, realized his father's dream of building an automobile for Japan, which he did in 1936 when he introduced the very first Toyota, the Model AA. Engineer by trade, he develops AA without any formal training in car manufacturing. But through sheer determination and ingenuity, it single-handedly gave birth to Japan's automotive industry. The founder, Kiichiro Toyoda, later on passed to his son, Soichiro Toyoda, in 1892. He became the president of the newly formed Toyota Motor Corporation and successfully unified the sales of manufacturing of Toyota. 2009 had grown into the world's largest automotive manufacturing, and the rails were handed to Akio Toyoda, the grandson of the founder Kiichiro Toyoda. Akio Toyoda, who took charge on one of the company's most challenging period. This period where the Toyota sudden unintended acceleration began. Akio Toyoda also is credited for successfully returning Toyota back to health. He uniquely dedicated to the company that bears his name. In 2010, the total number of automobiles produced reaches 8 million units. Expansion and electric reach trucks, full model change on cars, and new plants and compressors productions reaches 800 million units up until 2018. Although the Toyota company is best known today for its cars, it is still in the textile business and still makes automatic looms, which are now computerized, and electric sewing machines, which are available worldwide. Toyota's rise to become the undisputed leader of the auto industry was based on a mantra that the quality of its vehicles was the highest priority. Quality production would lead to lower costs, which in turn would lead to a higher market share. Over a period of decades, Toyota built its reputation one car at a time and became known for its method of continuous self improvement. Toyota became the company that all other industrial leaders in America, Europe, and Asia wanted to emulate. Beginning in 1990, Toyota's focus changed. As one of the journalists aptly describes, the parable of Toyota is that the tortoise became the hare. Toyota abandoned its mantra of quality first to aggressively seek market share. The company quickly grew in its chase to be the number one global manufacturer, but its reputation began to slip. Simply put, Toyota became too big, too fast. Sacrificing production quality resulted in a corporate culture of secrecy. Toyota developed a pattern of reacting slowly to safety concerns and failures to notify previous customers of known defects of previously sold vehicles. This pattern has been evidenced many times by Toyota's actions and responses, or lack thereof, to previous safety problems with its vehicles since 1990s. And so sudden unintended acceleration of Toyota has begun. Toyota recalled some of its automobiles due to unintended acceleration, leading to the death of innocent people. Since 1999, at least 2,262 Toyota and Lexus owners have reported that their vehicles have accelerated suddenly and without explanation. These incidents have resulted in 815 crashes, 341 personal injuries, and 19 wrongful deaths. Toyota ultimately recalled millions of its cars for floor mat issues, brake problems, and sticky gas pedals. Toyota has not accepted its responsibility for manufacturing and selling vehicles that have design flaws that can contribute to sudden unintended acceleration. It has insisted that the system cannot fail and has blamed drivers and suppliers. Toyota's past recalls have been ineffective. Drivers of recalled vehicles who have applied the remedy still experience sudden unintended acceleration. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, is an agency of the U.S. federal government, part of the Department of Transportation, as is described its mission as save lives, prevent injuries, reduce vehicle-related crashes related to transportation safety in the United States. Toyota, meanwhile, flatly rejected the concept of unintended acceleration with this statement. With regards to allegations of unintended acceleration, Toyota does not believe that uncontrollable acceleration can occur without the driver applying the accelerator pedal because of the several detection systems described. If an abnormal conditions, such as the ETC sending the signal to the throttle body to open the throttle without applying the accelerator pedal due to a failure of a component or a malfunction of the system, or if the throttle simply were to open on its own, the system goes into fail-safe mode. In addition, the brake system and the ETC systems are mechanically separated and work independently of each other. Therefore, even if the ETC system fails, the brake system still works as designed and unintended acceleration cannot occur. Furthermore, brake systems that fail mechanically leave evidence of their failure after the occurrence and do not return to normal operating conditions by themselves. Toyota's strategy of denial and blaming the victims continued for many years, and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration (NHTSA) never took its job of protecting the American driving publicly seriously enough. The NHTSA would receive complaints about defective vehicles and do incomplete investigations. Then, Toyota would release statements that denied responsibility for the problems the drivers experience. It was the classic case of one lies and the other swears by it. Had a severe tragedy not caught the eyes and hearts of US regulatory agencies and the media, Toyota's story may have never changed. The death of an off duty California Highway Patrol officer and his family caused by sudden acceleration in a Lexus 350 sedan led the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration to seriously question Toyota's previous explanations. Toyota began to face intense scrutiny after it was reported that at least 19 deaths were known to have occurred due to sudden acceleration defects in its vehicles. According to NHTSA, or the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the defect has resulted in a total of 16 accidents with 3 deaths and 7 injuries. Therefore, why didn't Toyota use this as an alert to call for call, but rather delayed in announcing? Toyota says it believed the defect was unlikely to occur on vehicles sold in the States because American driving cycles are significantly different from those in Japan. Once the company received 54 complaints on the issue, it supposedly alerted NHTSA of the problem within the 5 days allowed under the law. In February 2010, Congress began a series of hearings on the issue of unintended acceleration in Toyota vehicles. Senate Commerce Committee Chairman J. Rockefeller of West Virginia has laid out possible steps for Congress and Department of Transportation, including taking a fresh look at the TREAD Act, requiring brake override technology on all new automobiles, automakers to provide the necessary equipment for investigators to read electronic data recorders, and forcing senior executives of auto companies to personally certify that information their firms provide to NHTSA is complete and accurate. Consumer advocates have suggested broader changes, including new standards for accelerators and electronics testing, mandatory installation of event data recorders, and the collection of more information. Now, what does Toyota takes on this? Toyota, however, took the result as a cold comfort since the damage to its reputation has been done. The mechanical issues with its pedals and floor mats, after all, remain as the root factor in what eventually became a record recall of over 12 million vehicles around the world and over 5 million here in the US. Toyota was eventually fined $48.8 million dollars for its treatment of the recalls. Toyota made significant changes to its safety practices after the recall crisis that briefly forced it to halt sales of nearly half of its vehicles in 2010 and led to the company president Akio Toyoda appearing before Congress to apologize. How much does it cost for the failure to report the defect? Between 2009 and 2010, Toyota recalled roughly 8.5 million vehicles internationally. The NHTSA determined that Toyota was well aware of the safety defect for at least 4 months prior to the reporting problem and fined the company $16.375 million dollars for failure to report the defect. The plaintiffs allege that certain vehicles manufactured by the defendants, or the Toyota Motor Corporation and Toyota Motor Sales USA Incorporated, together with Toyota, equipped with electronic throttle control systems or ETCS, are defective and can experience acceleration that is unintended by the driver. As a result, the lawsuit pursues claims for breach of warranties, unjust enrichment, and violations of various state consumer protection statutes, among other claims. Toyota denies that it has violated any law, denies that it engaged in any wrongdoing, and denies that there are in any defect in its ETCS. The parties agreed to resolve these matters before these issues were decided by the court. Toyota still denies the claims, but later on settled for $1.6 billion dollars in December 2012. Toyota has also agreed to pay a staggering $1.2 billion dollars to avoid prosecution for covering up severely safety problems with unintended acceleration. According to court documents and continuing to make cars with parts the FBI said Toyota knew were deadly. Also, Toyota paid out $25.5 million dollars to shareholders based on the claim that the company's stock price was damaged due to Toyota's failure to timely report the safety issues. To emphasize, parties involved in the sudden and unintended acceleration of Toyota is the government and the Toyota Motor Corporation. For Toyota owners, trying to make sense of these sudden unintended acceleration reports And vehicle recalls can be very confusing, largely because Toyota's spokespeople rarely tell the whole truth and because government officials refuse to act forcefully enough to protect American drivers and passengers. A deferred prosecution agreement filed last March 20, 2014 forced Toyota to admit that it misled United States consumers by concealing and making deceptive statements about two safety related issues affecting its vehicles, each of which caused a type of unintended acceleration. Quality production would lead to lower costs, which in turn would lead to a higher market share. But what happened to Toyota? As for FBI Assistant Director George Venizelos, Toyota put sales over safety and profit over principle. As the sudden acceleration crisis continues, Toyota's market share will continue to dwindle, resulting from the ever increasing unsafe stigma attached to its vehicles. Toyota's settlement with the US government over misleading investigators about the sudden acceleration problem illustrates that nobody is immune from information flow problems. As they misled investigators by denying the problem existed, but internally company records showed Toyota knew the problem. It seems that Toyota people were trying to protect the brand, which over the last 35 years has been put on a pedestal by nearly everyone, especially those who carefully studied Toyota. Aside from information flow problem, it is also a challenge for us managers who do not understand the rationale for and benefits of having a problems are okay, no blame environment. Quality production would lead to lower costs, which in turn would lead to a higher market share. And as for managers, it is a must for us to put safety and principle, integrity over sales and profit for the continuance and integrity of the business. In a court documents between a meeting between Toyota and regulators in January 2010, the unidentified employee said that someone will go to jail if lies are repeatedly told. More so, a senior justice official added that Toyota made blatant misrepresentations in what he called a classic case of corporate culture that favored the seemingly easy way out instead of paying the cost and doing the right thing. The cover up is always going to be worse than the original sin, the official added. In the way Toyota tried to deal with the now infamous problem of unintended acceleration in many of its models, they have given us an example of how not to deal with a safety problem. While the whole story has yet to emerge, it looks now as though a circle the wagons mentality was at least as much to blame as poor engineering. And so in August 2009, incident turned out to be the tip of an unintended acceleration iceberg that Toyota has been struggling to minimize for over a decade, as further investigation published by the LA Times in October revealed. However, in October that year, Toyota sent out a letter to many of its car owners that the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration criticized 4 days later as inaccurate and misleading. Toyota was clearly trying to minimize a problem that now appears to be more serious than simply a floor mat that interferes with accelerator pedal motion. The worst thing that can happen to a corporation is to lose money. But perhaps the strongest lesson Toyota learned from the controversy is that customers' anxieties and fears are just as real as defective mechanical parts. Ignoring or minimizing such concerns can allow a controversy to snowball until the damage done is all out of proportion to the actual documentable problems. Prevention is always better than cure, and so these are the ways to prevent unintended acceleration. One is maintenance. Keeping your car in the best shape, possibly will ensure that they work as they should. Awareness. Avoid driving if you're half asleep or worse, under the influence of alcohol. Until you are fully awake and cognizant, you have no business being behind the wheel of a motor vehicle. Another way to prevent unintended acceleration is to stick to one floor mat instead of piling on layers of cheap ones. It will stay in place due to the better build quality and the carpet grabbing texture on the other side. If your vehicle has an OE floor mat anchor, all the better. And then familiarize. You don't want to be trying to figure out what that switch, lever, pedal, or crazy flashing button does when you're already on the road. Know how to get into neutral, how to shut off the engine, and where the emergency brake is and how to engage it. Another way to prevent unintended acceleration is being informed about new standard. The new safety standard will require car manufacturers to implement a system that prioritizes braking over acceleration in the event that both the brake and gas pedals are engaged at the same time. The new regulation will make the feature mandatory to prevent future fatal accidents and will outline standards for its testing and efficacy. As part of Toyota's recall, the company agreed to install smart pedals in some vehicles that had experienced sudden acceleration. By taking this preventive step, undetected signals or interference causing a throttle to open would be stopped when the driver hit the brake pedal. Although Toyota will be installing smart pedals in all its 2011 vehicles, many Toyota vehicles prone to sudden acceleration, which are currently on the streets, will not receive this preventive technology. Upon reading and understanding the company's crisis, since NHTSA is charged by statute with reducing deaths resulting from motor vehicle crashes by monitoring vehicle manufacturers such as Toyota, we suggest that NHTSA must prescribe motor vehicle safety standards and carry out safety research and development in motor vehicles and equipment. In order to establish motor vehicle safety standards, the NHTSA is granted authority to collect pertinent information and perform research and testing as it sees fit. Thereafter, they make a final decisions on rules and safety standards that will be adopted for future automobiles. Once the NHTSA establishes a standard, the agency is required to ensure that manufacturers comply when producing new vehicles. However, the agency investigations did not thoroughly review all potential causes of sudden acceleration. After thousands of complaints and several investigations over a period of years, the NHTSA still has not identified or even attempted to identify all the causes of Toyota's sudden acceleration. While Toyota withheld information from the NHTSA, the agency's inadequate response to the sudden acceleration crisis presents a picture of a regulatory agency in desperate need of change. Most organizations should seek for customers or consumer satisfaction rather than targeting high profit. Should a manufacturer become aware of a safety defect or non-compliant vehicle after it has sold the vehicle to a dealer, but before a dealer has sold the vehicle to the customer, arrogance and choosing to ignore quality warnings when failures started to happen is also a problem facing most of organizations. Toyota did not act until the number of cases and the media outcry become loud enough get through their in defiance calls. Companies should design a manufacturing information and traceability data that can be shared with suppliers for effective root cause analysis. The Toyota sudden acceleration crisis demonstrate the potential benefit of setting standards, planning, and especially a necessity to be well funded. This study may help us in the future to prepare and learn how to manage crisis, risk, and make decisions when same situation arises in our business. Summary is listed below. Though Toyota is a very ominous black cloud, its silver lining can be realized if Congress and the NHTSA work together to produce stronger, more effective legislation that transforms NHTSA into an active, efficient, and cutting-edge agency. The transformation of NHTSA will need a substantial increase in funding. The Toyota sudden acceleration crisis demonstrate the potential benefits, the necessity of a well-funded, proactive NHTSA. Without drastic changes, the NHTSA will remain unable to accomplish its purpose, and another recall crisis similar to Toyota's sudden acceleration may occur in the not so distant future.